And we move on to another poll-bound state. This is the state of West Bengal. A lot of action again. Today was a day of big rallies and big marches. But let's begin with what happened last night, where we witnessed two cases of violence. Two instances in one night. The first one was an attack in Murshidabad. The attack that was on the state labor minister. And a crude bomb was actually hurled at Jakir Hossain. He's been injured. He's in the hospital. Two others have also gotten injured in this. And then there was the second attack. The second attack was on BJP leaders. This was at Suvendu Adhikari's rally that was being conducted. One of the BJP leaders, Shivaji Roy, actually got injured in this attack. Suvendu and S. Panda were also present at this rally. This is what transpired last night. So obviously the big theme today between the two political parties and the big contenders, the TMC and the BJP, was about law and order. While Mamata Banerjee blamed the centre and the railways for lack of security for allowing this attack to happen, the railway said the security is not in our hands, it is in the hands of the state police. Amit Shah actually turned back and said, if that is the case, you give us. We will do a CBI inquiry and we'll find out what happened. Amit Shah was also in West Bengal today conducting BJP's Parivartan rally in South 24 Parganas. This rally is now, a march across the state, is now in its last stage. Since the violence in the state seems to be never ending tonight, we ask the question, who is responsible for the violence in West Bengal? Surdip Chattopadhyay, Senior Deputy Editor for Frontline, joins us this evening. Mr. Dinesh Varshney of the CPI. Indranil Khan, spokesperson for BJP, is with us this evening as well. And Biswajit Dev, spokesperson for the TMC, joins us this evening. But let me actually start off with Mr. Chattopadhyay. Mr. Chattopadhyay, your view, because the two sides are constantly blaming each other for the violence that's unfolding, for the clashes, for the attacks, for the crude bombs, for the stone pelting and everything else. In fact, before I go across to Mr. Chattopadhyay, let me actually bring in the BJP and ask them this question. Indranil Khan, who else could be responsible for an attack on a TMC minister?
West Bengal is witnessing a splurge in violence over the last 2-3 years. We have lost as many as 137 Karyakartas just from one party, that is our Bharatiya Janata Party. And this environment of political violence is actually very detrimental to the interest of West Bengal. We are already lagging behind in investment. We are already lagging behind in jobs. We are already lagging behind in various opportunities. But at the same time, there are people, there are syndicates, there are cut monies. There is this Kodak mafia, coal mafia, cattle smuggling mafia that are operating in West Bengal at present. And we have seen, even I'm speaking on behalf of BJP, no doubt, but we have seen the Adhir Ranjan Chowdhury, he's local MP, he's from the Congress. He too also spoke about yesterday's incident in Murshidabad, that the cattle smuggling mafia that is aided by the Trinamool Congress and supported by the local administration is behind this attack, is the brutal reality. And out of jobs, we have already witnessed that there has been a massive shift. There has been a massive brain drain of our youth to other states for employment opportunities. Though, while this ruling Trinamool Congress, it has failed to give us jobs, it has turned the youth away from the educated youth, the literate youth, away from the state. We have seen that they are actually killing our youth. There is Saikat Bhawal, a young boy who was a good president with our party. He was killed by the Trinamool Congress Karyakartas. And as I said, that even our MLA, our Devendranath Rai, he was an MLA of the Bharatiya Janata Party. He was also not spared. We have even the Honorable Governor of West Bengal, Jagdeep Dhankar ji, he has been telling repeatedly the Mamata Banerjee government to follow Raj Dharma. That is to bring to book all these mafias, all these illegal, all these criminal people, to take them to book. But the administration is a mute spectator to all this. And what we are witnessing is that the TMC is getting engulfed. The violence that happened yesterday is like the TMC getting engulfed in the flame set by itself only. And instead of taking any action on the perpetrators of the various crimes, we have seen that all these, we have seen the hanging of Trilochan Mahato, He was Adivasi, Karyakartas of the Bharatiya Janata Party. But no action has been taken for all these political killings. We have seen the political matters, and every time they say that these are all cases of suicide, someone that is going out of his home to commit suicide in front of one tea. So this is type of stupid things there, illogical things they're bringing. And only time we have witnessed police acting is when they want to suppress the voices of dissent. Be it with Shafiqul Islam. He was a journalist of the Arambagh series, the local journalist.
Okay.
He had brought into court the corruption of the TMC.
Yeah.
And instead, the same night, he was dragged away from his home with his wife.
Yeah, but then what explains, Mr. Dinesh Varshney, what explains the injuries and the assaults and the murders that the other side is also facing, and even crude bomb attacks, as we saw in the case of the TMC minister. Now, what is your view on who's responsible for this violence? Obviously, you know, somebody is pushing it. Both sides are equally indulging in it.
Well, because we have...
No, let me take the question across to Dinesh Varshney, please.
We normally use in our villages a kahavat.
Yes.
Look, we use a idiom in our villages is Hindi. एक चोर दूसरे चोर को कह रहा है कि तू चोर है, मैं चोर नहीं हूँ. दूसरा चोर उसको कह रहा है नहीं, तू चोर है, मैं चोर नहीं हूँ. दोनों ही violence कर रहे हैं. Both of them are involved in the violence. Both of them are corrupt. Sharda scam corrupt MP comes to BJP, become dry clean and become clean. So both of them are corrupt. As far as gangsters are concerned and mafias are concerned, everybody knows who is patronizing the mafia of the senas, who is private senas, who is patronizing the mafias of the land in the jungle, jal, jungle and jameen, jal, jungle and bhumi. All these things everybody knows. Who is the part and parcel of the mafias for the crony capitalist? Who is the part and parcel of the petrol mafia, diesel mafia? Everybody knows. People have been ruined. People have been looted. In Bengal, the Mamata Banerjee and BJP, both of them are playing the game of violence so to show that the election is bipolar, whether it is not bipolar. It's a triangular contest. This time it is absolutely triangle contest, and both BJP and TMC is involved in the politics of violence, so the common voter are afraid to come and vote for the left. This is their game. BJP is doing communalism also. BJP is doing communalism also and vitiating the atmosphere, secular atmosphere and secular amalgamation of the people of West Bengal from last 45 years.
Let me get in then. Indranil, I know you want to comment, but I also need to bring in the TMC, and Biswajit Dev is with us. Biswajit Dev, respond to us. Irrespective of whether you want to accuse the BJP and claim the victim card, law and order is still under TMC's control. It's still your responsibility as the government in power.
Yes, I agree with you. But you see, the perpetrators of these crimes and the situation which has been prevailing in Bengal regarding the criminal activities and regarding the worsening law and order situation which the BJP is alleging, it has been created by the BJP itself. And that is why they are trying to create a situation where they want to project before the country that West Bengal is facing a law and order problem. And this is a fake news which they can spread throughout the entire country with their own machinery. But the problem is, yesterday's incident, what has happened in the premises of the railways. It is within the jurisdiction of the Indian Railways, and it is well within the purview of the central government to go ahead and find out why they lack proper infrastructure and why they lack proper security arrangements within the territory of the railways, and why such incident can take place within the territory of the railways. And leave aside the allegations which has been leveled by the BJP has got no other issues. They have no other agenda. They are only playing on religious grounds. They have no development work. They have done nothing for the development of West Bengal. Now they are saying that they will do the development work for tourism. Why? Only if they come to power, they will do some tourism work for West Bengal.
Let me get Indranil Khan to respond to that.
Is it correct on the part of the government
So
of India to say
he's so much sure that they are willing to
is it
let us
fair on the
investigate.
part of the
They
government of India?
they should allow
Is
our
it-
fleet
is it-
and
is
our
it-
players to
Mr.
allow
Biswajit Dev,
Let
Mr.
me
Biswajit Dev,
finish.
let the BJP respond to what you're asking. Biswajit Dev, let the BJP respond to what you're
Please
asking.
let me finish.
I will come back to you.
Please let me finish.
They're not
Is it
habituated
proper
with listening to
in
the
a federal
opposition, na.
structure?
Okay, let him finish. Let him finish. Yeah.
Listen to the opposition. TMC feels that there has been no infighting that has caused or no terrorist suspicion, but they feel that there has been something else behind the violence, then they should be the first one to allow a CBI inquiry into the incident. And because it's a railway land, they should immediately allow. If they say that the security is in the purview of the railways, then they should give it to the center. They should give it to the central investigating agencies to inquire into the incident and find out the real perpetrators. And I'm pretty sure, as well as the local people and the local administration, irrespective, and also the local party leaders, irrespective of political lines, where everyone is pointing their fingers to TMC infighting and because of the cattle mafia. And regarding the allegations
Let
of
me
the left,
respond, please.
Yes.
Please
just
let
a
me
second.
respond.
Regarding the allegations, yes, you can easily respond, no issue. But let's
Please let me
complete.
respond.
Because I also have the.
You should
I also
first of all know. You should first of all know. You should first of all know the difference between. You should first of all know. Well, let me respond. Let me respond.
Okay, one by one. Let's take it point by point. Let's take it point by point. Indranil, let us take it point by point. Biswajit Dev needs to come in now. Yes, Biswajit Dev.
Let me respond, please. The issue which has been raised by the representative of the BJP, I would first of all like to say that he should know that in a case where bomb blast has happened, it's an explosive substance act under which the investigation will take place. CBI has got nothing to do with it. They should call the NIA. They should know the proper investigating agency who can do the investigation in this particular aspect.
Exactly. We all remember how the NIA investigated and found out that the JMB was behind the Karyakartas blast.
Why don't you call the NIA? Why don't you call the NIA? Why are you referring to CBI? Because CBI is a caged parrot. They dance according to your tunes.
Don't be jittery so much about an NIA inquiry. We have already said.
We welcome that inquiry. Culprits should be booked. Whoever is the culprit, they should face the law. They should be punished.
Okay, all right. Now, gentlemen, allow me to come in. At the end of the day, let's be real. By its own choice, the TMC government is not going to hand over any investigation to the CBI. Let's just make that very, very clear. No matter how much they want to find out the truth, or they believe that the BJP is behind it.
We welcome any investigation, we are saying.
But let me also bring in Surit Chattopadhyay. Surit, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We're just trying to fix the frame, though. Right now it's split into two, but I'm going to figure that out. Surit, the question to you really is, as the political parties may blame each other for the violence, what's going on in Bengal and how are people viewing this? Do they blame one party over the other for the violence?
I think Bengal is quite used to the violence, really. It's been going on since 1972. And even before that. You see, I was thinking that this morning, yesterday night, a sitting minister was a victim of, not a victim, was a victim of a bomb blast and was grievously injured. But this is not the first time that a sitting minister has been attacked thus. If you recall, in 2008, during the panchayat elections, it was Noshkor, another minister from RSP, who was attacked. His house was attacked, and I think, if I remember correctly, his nephew's wife lost her life. And prior to that, sometime in 2003, Omar Chaudhary, another veteran RSP leader, had to be carried away by his bodyguards to save him from assassination. So this is not really this is nothing new in Bengal. It's something that has been going down from one regime to another.
Yes. So from a time when in the left tenure, we saw a lot of violence, and it was perhaps a lot more bloody than what we are witnessing right now. I don't know where we will go from here, but Mr. Dinesh Varshney, you have to agree to that. In comparison to what we may have seen in those decades, this still is nothing.
Not really.
Look, Tanvi, I agree to the point that there was always a violence, but this type of violence and fisty fights among the central government supporters and the state government supporter was never there during our 35 years of rule. I do agree there was attacks on each other, there were violence, but never ever violence was initiated from us. But unfortunately nowadays, the violence is planned, the violence is planted, the violence is protected, the violence is shielded. That is why Indranil says go to CBI. Haven't the Supreme Court of India said that CBI is a case parrot? Don't we know what is the role of the CBI and NIA now? Don't they play the partition role nowadays? We have seen in Sushant Singh murder case, Sushant Singh case. Recently we have seen in Disha Ravi case. Everywhere we are seeing their cases. The cases, the BJP leaders are executed, the raids are conducted only on opposition leaders. The raids are conducted on those who are fighting against the BJP, those who are fighting against the Modi ji. Cases are registered against the farmer leaders. Cases are registered even against the poor farmers. But the cases are not registered against the Karni Sena leaders. The cases are not registered against the Hindu Sena leaders. The cases are not registered against those who have demolished the Babri Mosque. This is a type of fascism BJP is perpetuating, and unfortunately in Bengal, Mamata Banerjee should have gone for a clean politics, but she is not. She is also patronizing the violence. So both of them are equally responsible. And it is Mamata Banerjee which allowed the advent of BJP in Bengal, not the left. Left is fighting against both of them.
Okay, let Indranil Khan respond, and then I go back to Sujit.
Stop taking a stand, because it is the left who has imported this culture of political violence and fascism in West Bengal. During this tenure, their administration has bulldozed people's movements. We have seen Krishaks, that is the farmers who were trying to protect their land from being taken away in Nandigram. They were shot at by the regime, by the left regime. It was under the left regime that we had
We accept the Nandigram mistake. You know, the Communist Party of India did accept the mistake at Nandigram. But you people have never accepted your mistakes, whether attacking the tribal lands in Jharkhand or Chhattisgarh or anywhere. Throughout India, you are attacking the environment activists. Throughout India, you are attacking the tribal rights activists.
Mr. Varshney, you made your point.
Them on false
Let
cases.
Indranil finish. Let Indranil finish. Indranil Khan.
Sudha Bhardwaj and other cases.
Indranil Khan.
You have planted a false document on their computer.
The left says that they don't want the opposition to stop. They don't want the opposition to actually highlight the incidents that have actually demolished. The reason why the left is no more here is because of this political violence.
No, you are welcome for an open debate anywhere, a time chosen by you and a place chosen by you.
Because of your fascist policies, and that's what your party teaches you. Learn to listen as well. You should. And regarding this, even they had killed these Congress Karyakartas. They were young Karyakartas of the Congress. It was on July 21, 1993. It was the same left-wing government who had killed the protesters in the writers had gone to writers' building to protest. And now they are toying with the Congress. They are actually partnering with the Congress just to stay relevant in the politics, because the people have relegated them to nowhere because of this violence, because they have already killed the Hindu migrants, the Hindu refugees at Marikjapi. It was under the left regime that had witnessed and the number of massacres, be it Netai massacre, be it Nandigram massacre, be it Modinchapi massacre, be it Shaibali massacre, the list of human massacres are endless.
Okay. Let me bring in Surid. Because he also disagreed about the extent of violence back then to what's happening now. Surid.
See, the thing is that, yes, there was a lot of violence during the left regime. There's been a lot of violence during every regime. But the point is that if you look at the 2018 panchayat elections, we see that more than 34% of the seats were actually won uncontested, and people from the ruling party were celebrating before even a single vote had been cast. Now, from April 2018 till about August 2018, there was continuous violence only for one election, which is the panchayat election. Now, this is unprecedented. Yes, there has been violence, but violence to this extent, I don't know. I don't think so, at least not to my knowledge. And I've been following politics. I've been a journalist for the last 25 years, but I have not seen violence. I have not seen panchayat violence from April to August in any of the elections that I have covered. You see, more than 15 people were killed on the day of the election itself in 2018. Now, I'm not pointing fingers at either the Trinamool or the BJP or the left, but what I'm trying to say is that in West Bengal, violence has become an integral part of the political process, and there is nothing anybody can do about it right now. It seems to be de rigueur right now.
Okay, that's an interesting point that you made. So let me ask you this question: how do voters in Bengal view this, or have they also resigned themselves to the fate? Well, this is how it's going to happen. We'll decide that day how and when we step out and whom to vote for.
The point is that the thing is that it's not about how the voters are going to see this. The voters are definitely extremely frustrated. And I will say that the reason for one of the precipitating factors for Trinamool's debacle, if we can call it that, in 2019 was the 2018 elections. I went when I covered the 2019 elections. I remember there were places when the opposition parties were campaigning in the rural areas, and people had come out saying that they did not allow us to vote in 2018. This time we will not allow them to do the same. We will not allow them to stop us from voting. You see, in rural Bengal, the panchayat elections is a very big deal, and to deny them that right has cut them to the quick, and they have been expressing their resentment. Well, this is one of the many factors for the present situation in Bengal, but violence in the panchayat elections has been a precipitating factor for the BJP's gains and the Trinamool losing its credibility somewhat.
Yes, Indranil.
Online. Yes, when we this is the politics of violence, this political violence that has been there in West Bengal's arena is very much shocking, because today we are in the 21st century, and it's India and West Bengal, in a land like West Bengal, where we have seen so many freedom fighters fighting for our independence. We just can't accept that people are being deprived of their basic voting rights. And so when we speak of Parivartan Yatra, we want the Parivartan not just in the color, not just in the CM face, not just in those particular ministers. We just want a Parivartan, a social Parivartan, where this politics of violence will change for the better. We want peace to establish, because we want the restoration of democracy. We want the people not to be deprived of their basic democratic rights. We don't want the people to get deprived of the basic schemes of the government because of corruption and because of cut money. It is this a real change that we are speaking of. As we say, that is, yes, as Surit was saying, that it is difficult, but it is not impossible. We have to try, and that's why we are fighting BJP for this real parivartan.
Yes, but while you say Parivartan and in the TV debates and in special interviews, you will talk about Parivartan and the politics of development. When you go out on the ground and you march on the streets and you hold mega rallies, you don't. Then you talk about Mamata Banerjee and Jai Shri Ram and what her politics are versus your politics. Then you talk about NRC and CA and giving citizenship to the refugees who came and throwing others out. So at the end of the day, what you're telling people on ground is very different, Indranil, from what you're telling me here in the studios.
Listen, CA is not about depriving the citizenship rights of any community.
No, you don't have to defend it. I am not getting into the merits of these conversations. I am not getting into a merit of a conversation about Jai Shri Ram or anything else with you. I am simply saying, if one person had to sit here and do a dipstick on how much of your rally speeches and marches and comments were really about development, it would be a very different picture from what you are telling me here right now. Dinesh Varshney.
Of the West Bengal. It's a yearning for change. It's a yearning for parivartan.
Look,
that's what Jai Shri Ram.
The BJP parivartan can be judged from certain facts. The BJP parivartan can be judged from the certain facts. When Modi ji went to Jammu Kashmir, do you remember in last election, after the floods, he says he will give 48,000 crore rupees to Jammu Kashmir. Have reached there? No. In Bihar election, he said, how much do you want? 1 lakh crore, 75,000 crore, 1 lakh 25,000 crore. 1 lakh crore, okay. Have you given? Have their parivartan has come for 100 smart cities? Have their parivartan has come for the public education, hike in the public education fund decrease? Each and every social funding has been reduced. Each and every public utility services has been rendered for privatization, including banks, LIC banks and public sector units. Each and every health services is being rendered and handed over to the private insurance companies through that scheme of the Prime Minister, 5 lakh rupees. These all is done, their parivartan is in favor of, their parivartan is against the people of India. Their parivartan is not for the people of India, by the people of India. It is for the crony capitalists. And everybody know in West Bengal they are talking of Ram, Ram, Ram. Are Baba, please talk Ram. But those who are unemployed youth, they are also the Rams. Those mothers who are not getting their children, they feed food a day, they are also the mothers of the Ram. Their children are also the mothers of the Ram. So please try to speak the reality and the honesty. Don't rule through the proxy of the governors. Don't rule what you have done in the Puducherry. Is that a parivartan? Is that a parivartan? What have you done in the Manipur? Is that a parivartan? Or what have you done in Goa is a parivartan? Their parivartan is nasty, disturbing and very harmful to the federal character of the country.
In this current budget only, have a look at the budget. Have a look at the education sector of the sector.
Arey Baba, tell me now, where is your parivartan? See, what are you doing with the agriculture? What are you going to do with the agriculture? Handing over the agriculture to the few capitalists. That's why lakhs of Kisan today have done the rail roko today. Throughout the country there was a rail roko. And you are saying the farmers are terrorists. You are saying farmers are Khalistanis. Throughout the country, each and every block, the railway was stopped today. There are protests.
All right. We keep this for another day. The debate over how much development really becomes and is an agenda for the parties, how serious they are, and whether that will be one of the points that voters think about when they cast their vote late this summer. Thank you so much to all of our panelists for joining us, viewers. Before we wrap up this conversation, let me actually get you excerpt of an exclusive interview we had with Home Minister Amit Shah, who was, of course, leading this Parivartan rally today in West Bengal. He hit out at the Mamata Banerjee government over the political violence in Bengal. This is an exclusive conversation. Listen in.
देखिए, दिल्ली पुलिस कानून के हिसाब से काम कर रही है और दिल्ली पुलिस ने अपना पक्ष प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रखा है और जो भी धाराएं लगाई गई है इसके इंग्रेडिएंट्स को दिल्ली पुलिस ने स्पष्टता के साथ सबके सामने रखा है। अब किसी को राजनीतिक रूप से कुछ बोलना है तो हम रोक नहीं सकते उसको। जरा भी सही नहीं है। मुझे मालूम नहीं किसने भेजा, सिक्योरिटी के लिए भेजा होगा, बाकी स्नूपिंग उनका करना पड़ेगा ऐसा अभी कोई परिस्थिति ही नहीं है। देखिए, मैं इतना ही कहना चाहता हूं कि एक बार हिंसा की राजनीति आप शुरू करते हो तो आप भी उससे नहीं बच सकते हो। आज ममता दीदी भी परेशान है, वो कह रही है कि रेलवे के प्रीमाइसिस में हुआ है। जरूर, अगर हमें जिम्मेदारी देना चाहती है तो हम भागना नहीं चाहते, सीबीआई को दे दे, हम जांच कर कर आरोपियों को पकड़कर उनके हाथ में दे देंगे, हमें कोई आपत्ति नहीं है। राजनीतिक हिंसा का लोकतंत्र के अंदर स्थान ही नहीं होना चाहिए। वार्ता से ही सुलझना चाहिए और सरकार वार्ता के लिए तैयार है। हमने कहा है कि मुद्दों पर बातचीत हो और बातचीत के लिए आप आइए, जरूर सरकार तैयार है। हमारे लिए सीए चुनावी मुद्दा नहीं है, हमारे लिए संवेदना का मुद्दा है। 70 साल से जो गरीब यहाँ पर आए हैं उनको देश का नागरिकत्व लेने का भी अधिकार नहीं है क्या? देश के नागरिक भी नहीं बन पाएंगे, अपने बच्चों का भविष्य सुनिश्चित नहीं कर पाएंगे, सम्मान के साथ जी नहीं पाएंगे? क्या दोष है इनका? इनका दोष क्या है? हमारे लिए राजनीतिक मुद्दा नहीं है, हमारे लिए संवेदना का मुद्दा है, सिद्धांत का मुद्दा है।
We take a quick break. On the other side, we get you crucial news stories. The horrific death of 2 girls in the city of Unnao. Lots more updates. We also get you the updates on the IPL auction. Stay with me.